Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. And this is freedomthroughastrology.com. My name is Donald Patak. I am your astrologer. I'll have my cats knock my phone over and stuff. I am your astrologer. This is my contact information, standard YouTube copyright. Happy Monday, or whatever day you're watching this. Keys to the reading one, part one, anyways. I read astrology just a little bit differently. I use what's called constellation-based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal. Simple way of saying astrology by the visible sky. Tropical astrology, which is what many people know, or almost everybody knows, fixes the signs to the seasons the way they were back in ancient Rome. I don't live in ancient Rome, and neither do you. So the ancient astrologers were also astronomers, and that's how they read the sky. I am returning to that tradition where I read the planets where they actually are according to astronomers. I read also 13 signs because if you do take up astronomy as a hobby, you'll discover between Scorpio and Sagittarius is this constellation called the Fucus, also known as the snake bearer. It's a symbol of a person holding a snake by the head and tail. In ancient times, a snake symbolized knowledge. So you're holding it by the snake by the head and tail, meaning you controlled knowledge. To do what did a Fucus do? He healed himself, and ideally, he was supposed to use that knowledge to heal others with similar wounds. But that's your goal. That's the lesson of a Fucus. So it's a sign of the wounded healer. I use the natural size of the constellations because they are rather different in their sizes. Virgo, for example, is just under 49 degrees in the sky. However, I just mentioned Scorpio and Fucus. Both of those individually are less than 25 degrees in the sky. Mother Nature, in her wisdom, made the constellations all different sizes, and I honor that. There are astrologers who try to make them all 30 degrees. They ain't. Goodly English there from a school librarian. Yeah. And I use astrological midpoints as opposed to the IAU boundaries because the IAU boundaries are kind of arbitrarily drawn. If you go to between Scorpio and Fucus and you zoom in close enough on something like Stellarium or various other programs, you'll notice where the IAU boundary is immediately to the left of the Fucus boundary are stars that have the name Scorpius in them, meaning they really belong in Scorpio. Athen Shementi, stuttering today, sorry, noted that and said this isn't right. And on the zodiac belt, he found the last bright stars of Scorpio, first bright star of a Fucus. Looked in the zodiac belt, did some geometry, discovered the halfway point, and started doing that with all the constellations. So I do use the astrological midpoints. I think that's a little bit more accurate. At least that's my experience. Keys to the reading part two. I read evolutionary astrology, which says the planets, the constellations, etc. These are teachers and they're offering you lessons to learn, and you have freedom of choice. You will face these transits. How you choose to work with them and respond to them, that's up to you. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons for all our fellow ground pounders or earth dwellers, whatever you want to call us. So do have some compassion on your fellow earth travelers. The dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone. I do live right outside of Buffalo, New York. I read with the program I'm using, Capricorn by Prometheus. I have it set for within 1 degree of exact. Makes it a little bit easier to do forecasts. I can do it wider than that, but it becomes very overwhelming for me. And if I've overwhelmed, you're lost. So this is when what you're feeling, it can be more intense. So you can feel it a little bit before this, a little bit after this, after what's forecast, but do know the dates that are forecast is when it will be the most intense and noticeable. And this is our summary of the weekly transits. This is the week of July 14th to July 20th, 2025. The sun begins the week in Gemini and will end the week in Cancer. So we do have a sign change this week. Yay. The moon is traveling from Aquarius through to Taurus. So it's not a lot because Monday it's in Aquarius and then Tuesday it enters Pisces. And Pisces is either the second or the third largest constellation in the sky. And that goes all the way through, I think, Friday-ish. And then on Saturday, I think it enters Taurus. So the moon is actually a little bit of stability in the sky. So expect to be emotionally stable, which is nice. The last quarter moon is in Pisces on Thursday, July 17th at 20:38 or 8:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Our active planets, we don't have a whole lot this week. As a matter of fact, what I have listed here is pretty much it. The sun is active with Chiron, Mercury, and Venus are working together. Mars in the south node, and then Saturn and Neptune are both working with Pluto. Saturn and Neptune are conjunct, and they're both aspecting Pluto. So that's, I mean, it's a very calm week. These transits here are going to carry on for a long time. They're the outer planets. They move very slowly. So if you're really feeling heavy energy, it's very likely this is where you're getting it. These ones here, the inner planets, they move incredibly fast. In fact, the longest transit of any of these is this Mars North Node one. All these other ones blow through pretty quick. So there's that. And then retrograde, which is just a time of reflection and inner work. We're going to add Mercury to the mix. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are all working retrograde. So it's all reflective and inner workings at this point in time. So this is the overview in a graphic representation. And as you can see, outside of a couple of transits from last week ending, which probably not going to cover. No, I don't think I have them in. You have the intensity of these planets, the outer planets, and then everything here below this dotted line is new this week, and that really doesn't start up, and nothing starts up till Thursday. So really, it's a very calm beginning of the week outside of the moon changing a sign into Pluto or into Pisces on Tuesday. It's a very calm week. Doesn't pick up until Thursday. Thursday's got a couple of transits. Friday begins a transit, and we have on Saturday we have the sun entering Cancer. On Thursday, we do get the last quarter moon and Mercury moving station retrograde. Station retrograde means it's going to look like it's like Mercury is standing still in the sky. So Mercury is in Leo right now. It's in early Leo. So after sunset, you can actually see Mercury without a telescope or binoculars. It's easier to, but you can see it. And so for the duration of that retrograde, it's going to look like it's standing still in the sky instead of moving. But otherwise, it's a very calm week and a very stable week at that. Yeah, I apologize if I sound a little tired. I am. Technical difficulties with the computer, etc. It's life. We're making progress. So, starting way back in June, we have this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and both are retrograde right now, which means this is internal work. So this is literally Saturn conjunct Neptune is literally maturing in your spirituality. And they're both in Pisces, which deals with understanding life from a higher perspective. So this is literal, Saturn is maturing your maturity. Neptune, if there's a great lesson of Neptune, it's don't just do something, be there. Just be present. So learning to be present. And in Pisces, it's about, again, I think spirituality and transcendence and understanding things from a higher perspective. And this is going to go on through to the end of August. So this is a pretty long transit. So this is learning your spiritual self-discipline, your spiritual practices, and reflecting on them and how you're doing them and still doing them. Keeping these practices can help you to grow in them. And I think that's a great lesson of Saturn is growth and maturity. Falling into the shadows. So you can choose that higher road of growing and maturing your spiritual practices, or you can choose the low road, for lack of a better term. And Saturn can slip into fear, cynicism, pessimism. I mean, Saturn just gets dark bad. Self-pity. And in Neptune, you're trying to hide away and escape. And in Pisces, it's about numbing, escapism, trying to get away from the world. So, slipping into fear and dark moods can lead to a desire to try to hide and escape. And falling for all the hype can leave you lost in illusion and confusion. And you can feel isolated and drifting aimlessly and emptily, if that's even a word. If not, let's make it one. Starting way back on June 29th, and they're both retrograde, we have Neptune, Neptune Pisces sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. Both of them are retrograde. I really should update the graphic for that. I will for next week. Both are retrograde. So this is, how is your inner spiritual work, which is what we're talking about with Neptune retrograde in Pisces, helping create interest or a desire in your transformation and doing the work of transformation and in deep inner healing. And that's what Pluto is in Capricorn. Yes, Pluto is in very early Capricorn. So, and Pluto in Capricorn, I hate fruit flies. Pluto in Capricorn is about doing the work of transformation. In retrograde, you're reflecting on the work you've done so far, and you're doing this work more internally and more quietly. So how are you being inspired and given hope to do this deep inner work? Yeah, I think that's good. And the shadow here, again, Neptune and Pisces, is falling for the hype and desiring to hide away or escape or numb the pain. And Pluto in Capricorn, if you thought Saturn was bad, Pluto just gets worse. Pluto is deeply cynical, nihilistic, deep feelings of emptiness, and denial and defeat is possible only in a self-created fantasy. So it's falling for the hype and the lies and just falling in this deep, dark, pessimistic, cynical mood where you're just trying to control. And in Capricorn is a bit of a control freak. When you're in the shadow of Capricorn, it's control freak mode. And it's just trying to control what cannot be. Well, it's okay, Ken. I have Ken. That's your Ken commercial. And this is going to go through October. On July 10th, Saturn is retrograde. Saturn in Pisces is sextiling Pluto in Capricorn. So it joined into that whole fray. And then I'll give a summary of everything at the end. It's okay. It's okay. So Saturn, again, maturing in your spirituality, Saturn and Pisces, maturing in your spirituality. How is that helping you doing that deep transformational work? Ideally, that's a fact. That's basically the summary of Saturn conjunct Neptune in a sextile to Pluto. How is maturing in your spirituality helping you do that deep inner transformation that brings, and Pluto is transformation. Pluto can also be very deep healing. So how is this helping you to heal at a very deep level? Yeah. Hold on a second. I apologize, I'm a little exhausted. And in the shadow, again, Saturn falls into that darkness and despair and self-pity, falling for the illusion, falling for the hype, desiring to escape. And that excitement, that nervousness and uncertainty leads to cynicism, nihilism, and just leads to deeper inner wounds and extreme pity, as the despair, feelings of despair, self-pity. Playing the martyr can result in Yeah, playing the martyr can result from forgetting how the problems were created in the first place. So yeah, so falling for the fantasy just leads to bigger problems and self-martyring and oh woe is me. And if you recognize yourself having a pity party, that's a sign you're on the wrong path. You do have, and like I say, with evolutionary astrology, you have freedom of choice. You can change the path you're on. And this will be going, like I said, till August 12th. And hold on a second, from Sunday the 13th, the moon has entered Aquarius. So emotionally, you're desiring a little freedom, and and the intention here emotionally is to release what's holding you down or holding you back. Look for new opportunities or different ways of doing the same, but in a way that works better for you and feels more liberating in a way. The shadow here is acting up and out or selling out that leaves you feeling fake, empty, and unfulfilled. And emotionally, you can feel stuck. Interesting. I discovered that we look at the symbols of Aquarius here, and everybody thinks Aquarius is an air sign, but the symbol of Aquarius is a water barrier. It's the guy pouring out water. So everybody thinks these two squiggly lines are water. Actually, the symbol is two snakes moving in parallel. I'm not sure where to go with that. I'll figure it out. Monday, take a breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. Tuesday, the moon enters Pisces. So look what it inspires you emotionally, and just let other stuff go. This is the waning cycle. So this is a time of release. So release what's no longer inspiring you, so that you can find what does. Look for new vision and opportunities for spiritual growth, and doing so, this can help you move forward in life. Excuse me. The shadow is that you're clinging on to these old ideas. This worked in the past. Why isn't it? If I just push harder or try harder, it'll work now. So clinging onto old ideas is demotivating and lead to desire to withdraw into a past that no longer is. Also, emotionally trying to escape or numb the pain and the emptiness leaves you lost and feeling ungrounded. And this is where the moon's going to be most of the week. So the moon is actually pretty steady, which is nice. Wednesday, take another breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. Thursday, Mercury is in Leo and it moves station retrograde, which means it's, like I said, it's going to look like it's standing still before it starts moving backwards in the sky. It really isn't. It's just from our perspective on the Earth, it looks like it's moving backwards. Mercury is the planet that teaches you as your learning and communication. And in Leo, it's how are you sharing this? How are you expressing it? If you think of how are you receiving appreciation for what you're doing. So take time to reflect about what you're learning and what you're sharing and how you're expressing it. And is what you're doing superficial, or are you going much deeper? And who are you sharing it with, and how, and why? Look at those types of questions here. Are you sharing information with people to educate them and inform them and help them move on with their life, or are you trying to impress them? You're trying to impress people with your knowledge. That's falling into the shadow. Nobody likes a know-it-all. And a matter of fact, instead of helping them move forward, the right thing said the wrong way is the wrong thing. You can actually pull them back and hold them down. So getting caught up in mental games, becoming defensive, or showboating feigned expertise can be seen for what it is, and people will just blow you off. And the other flip side of this is, are you not sharing what you know at all? I like to go over and under. So the too much is all the look at me, I'm a self-made expert, or I look at all the stuff that I know, and just being a know-it-all to everybody. The underside is not sharing what you know at all. and trying to hide it away. So both of those leave you feeling unappreciated. And both of them are also in Leo, pointless drama, empty, meaningless drama. It's not worth it. So reflect. Are you sharing what you know in a responsible manner, or are you playing drama king or drama queen in some way that is just annoying people? And then we have Mercury. It's station retrograde during this transit, and it's sextiling Venus in Taurus, which is kind of interesting. These are all interesting. And like I talked, how are you communicating? And Venus and Taurus in your relationships, how is what you're communicating and sharing building peace and stability in your relationships? And and also, how are you sharing what you know in your relationships as well? Venus is also, in addition to relationships, it's also creativity. It's also having fun. So are you learning how you have fun? Are you learning about being creative, whether it's with the arts or with music, whatever? This is a little time to stop and think about that. How are you treating your relationships? Are they caught in a rut and getting boring? Or are they, are you in a creative rut? What's going on? Look at that. So, yeah. Yeah. How are you spending your time with others, and who are you spending your time with? That's one good question here. And then in the shadow, playing to the wrong crowd could drag you down into an unfulfilling rut. Trying to control others with words can backfire spectacularly in public. Yeah. And then we also have the last quarter moon in Pisces. So the moon in Pisces is that inspiration. And this is a challenge. A square is a challenge that is designed to strengthen you. Ideally, this inspiration is strengthening you, sun, and strengthening your sun in Gemini, your ability to learn about who you are and communicate who you are and how to communicate it. So your sun in Gemini is you're learning about your identity. So do know your natal sun sign, and how are you learning about your natal sun sign, and how are you learning to communicate and share that with others? And this doesn't mean just speaking; it can be written. Gemini deals with that communication, all types of communication. Is it video? Um, so ideally, this inspiration, releasing these old ideas and finding new inspiration, is strengthening your ability to learn and communicate who you are at heart. And in the shadow, that square becomes a crushing burden or a stumbling block, and becoming uninspired. And the sun in Gemini, oh gosh. Oh, yeah, the sun in Gemini, your core identity, and it's just talking endlessly about yourself or not sharing anything at all. Being uninspired, unmotivated, and just not wanting to share, or just trying to relive and rehash the past and just feeling empty about it. So feeling lost or uninspired can feel crushing to what you think you know about your identity and who you think, and feel like you're also losing against reality and losing your identity and feeling lost that way. On Friday, the moon enters Aries. Again, this is a waning cycle. This is the releasing cycle. So release your fears so that you can, face your fears in a way so that you can find courage and assertiveness. Face your fears, let them go. Learn to be bold and brave. Face your challenges with an inner emotional strength. That's the ideal. The shadow here is your emotional self is slipping into fear, and that can come out across as anger or cowardice, and either one can lead to rash action and regret. So, yeah. Also on Friday, we have the sun in Gemini. squaring Chiron in Pisces. So we talk about the sun in Gemini. You're learning about your core identity and communicating it. Here, a square is strengthening. Again, I like that strengthening lesson. Chiron in Pisces, lesson of Chiron is healing. And in Pisces, you're transcending the wounds, understanding them from a higher perspective, and letting them go. You heal them, leave them go. You know. So how is what you're learning about yourself challenging you to heal and release wounds of the past? Also, examining your values can help you heal more deeply. So being able to understand your values and what's important to you. Not sure where that came from, but it was important enough for me to write it down. And the shadow here, you know, that sun in Gemini talks too much or won't talk enough at all about themselves. And that square, that the square becomes a challenge, it becomes a stumbling block, it's a crushing burden that leads to deeper wounding and a desire to escape or numb the pain any which way you can. So being selfish and trying to falling into aggrandizement can reinforce the wounds of the past and lead to desire and denial and the desire to escape, or just mentally rehashing the wounds of the past can also, you know, lead to desire to hide and escape. So whether it's over the top, talking too much about yourself, or not wanting to share at all, either one of those leads to deeper wounding, pain, and desire to escape. And on Saturday, the moon enters Taurus. Emotionally, it's the weekend. Let's calm down. Time to calm down physically and find peace and rest that restores your strength. Let go of stressful activities, slow down, chill out. It's the weekend. Kick back, relax. The shadow here is being emotionally stubborn, and pushing from instinct leaves you exhausted and worn out. Okay. And this is really late. Both of these happen later in the day on Saturday. And so very late in the day, actually, it's actually close to midnight, the sun enters Cancer. So, yeah, Cancer the crab. So focusing and Cancer the crab. So this is focusing on your personal roots, family, and those deeper relationships, also deep soul connections. Spend time nurturing and healing them and yourself. Also look for time to look for opportunities to spend quiet time and also alone. Remember, the crab has that shell, and sometimes it'll pull itself back. And so during this Cancer season, if you feel a desire to pull yourself back and pull in, that's okay. Rest, heal yourself. The moon, you know, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and talking about emotional healing, you know, so also learning to heal yourself, pulling back, resting, healing yourself. This is an okay thing to do. Knowing that you pull back, healing so that you can come out of the shell to move forward. That's the only way you can move around. So the shadow here, failing to heal and nurture yourself, pretending everything is fine, can lead to living life through by motions without meaning, can feel exhausting and leave you wanting to hide away, also becoming very defensive. Remember that crab has claws, egotistical swipes at people. Yeah, not a good thing. I'm just looking here because I see this Mercury here, and so the sun and Mercury are going to be conjunct soon. That's life. And on Sunday, Mars will be conjunct the South Node, which means soon it will be opposite the North Node. But it begins the whole kit and caboodle by being conjunct the South Node. So Mars in Leo, we'll talk about what Mars is. Mars is having courage and assertiveness, and that's the positive lesson. And conjunct the South Node, you're having the courage and the assertiveness to face how you hold yourself back in life. And in what you're doing, this is in Leo. How are you holding yourself back from expressing yourself and being seen? Or how are you holding yourself back by actually being too much on stage and always wanting to be the center of attention? It's phase the South Node to me in transiting South Node is how you hold yourself back. It can be bad habits, bad practices. You're having the courage to face them and address them. So this is to me is an opportunity for you to make a correction on your path and the way that you present yourself to the world and the way you're coming across to people. So it's having the courage to say, hey, I'm not standing, I'm not, thinking of all the world's a stage. I'm not presenting myself on the stage correctly, and having the courage to change the way you behave. The shadow of this is falling into fear, and in the South Node, all those bad habits, just acting out in anger. And in Leo, it's the drama king and drama queen. So rather than changing, you're reinforcing and doing it in front of everybody and just making a bigger mess. Or it's falling into that fear and not wanting to be seen, and you can still make pointless drama. It's very possible to make pointless, empty, meaningless drama by trying not to be seen. So following, so let's see, what do I have here? Courage to face how you hold yourself back from receiving recognition you deserve and potentially desire. Take necessary risks in order to overcome this and succeed. Falling into shadow is, you're slipping into fear and anger, leaves you feeling stuck in the past, repeating the mistakes, or committing acts of self-sabotage, and for all the world to see. It's going to happen publicly. And that starts on the 20th and goes to the 24th. That's our long transit of the week of the quick movers. Yeah, so Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are those are the social planets. Moon falls in with that as well. Those are the social planets. They all move fast. So yeah, or the inner planets. I call them. Yeah, I do call them social planets. So, and this is our week. So hopefully it works out good for you. So do follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm also on Mural. I gotta get more involved in that. But these guys here are all making money off of your data. Digital Soul Space is is run by Mighty Networks, and they let you control your data and how it gets used, etc. And it's, we all know about the trolls online. Digital Soul Space, there are 4 great monitors, and it's a troll-free zone. I do astrology on there. We have a number of astrologers, but if you're into crystals, tarot decks, different oracle decks, you're looking for spiritual books and what have you, people either, we just had a good discussion the other day about angels, etc. Wide variety of spiritual practices. If you're looking for a troll-free spiritual space, I call it the happy corner of the internet. Check it out. I am also now a member of the ISAA, International Sidereal Astrology Association. So look for me on there. Hopefully I'll be working more with them. I do offer a number of readings and packages. If you want to see how your chart changes, but you're not willing to spend a whole lot of money, or you want to see, like, give me the pink spoon. How would my chart change? Quick 6, I look at 6 key points on your chart and I share that with you. I do full birth or natal chart readings. And with me, the birth in evolutionary astrology, this is your end all goal. It's not who you are, it's who you came here to become. I also do a karmic or a past life reading. So if you believe one and done, it's a karmic reading. It's a special lesson you came to learn and how to learn it and how to move on. If you believe in past lives, you're reliving an archetype of your past life. I can tell you exactly what that archetype is and then how you heal it. And I do horoscopes 1 year, any 12 months in a row, or 13 new moons or full moons, whichever. Any 3 months in a row or any 1 month, and it can be the month or it can be new moon to new moon. Both are options. And I do have packages that combine these readings together, and they have a 10% discount built in. Let me pull this up. So here is my website. If you click on services, that's where you place orders for the readings. Scheduling is where you place ordering for the packages for now. Excuse me. And I like to get together and meet with you about the packages so we can work out the schedule for delivery of the readings that you're ordering and how you want them done. I do a blog where I post. Ideally, I post daily insights. I take one of the transits, and I do a deeper reading on it. Events is where I'm having to do events. Contacts is how you contact me. There's a little pop-up where you click on subscribe. You get just enter in your email address. I do a once a week newsletter. And that's where you get first notice of all this information and a little deeper insight on one of the transits or something that I've learned. And pull this down here. And here you go is the ISAA. You can have a paid membership or you do a free membership. And on September 27th, Closing Sunshine Anthem, there's the first annual Sidereal Astrology Conference with panels, live Q&A, some giveaways. Our three main speakers, Athen Shimenti, Carrie O'Toole, and Dr. Danny Inman. Yes, she actually is a doctor. She is a neonatal nurse, doula, something like that. Yeah, she helps with birthing babies, bringing these souls into the world. And the focus is the various styles of sidereal astrology. It's a free conference, so click register and join that. Back here, there's that. Let's go back here. There you go. Do like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes, and ideally for the better. Thank you very much. I apologize for my exhaustion, but I've just been very much getting back into teaching has taken a little bit more out of me than I thought it would. And I'm helping out with summer school this year because they haven't had a school librarian for summer school in 2 years. And that shares its own. That's been fun so far, actually. That and Kit had a litter of kittens and lost every single one again. So I'm dealing with a mourning mama. So thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible. And enjoy.